Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendigoon, and thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. This is a number I never thought I'd get to in any capacity, like subscribers, viewers, whatever. I'm blessed, I'm honored, this means the most, so thank you all so much. I put out a community post saying that whenever I hit 100,000 I do a Q&A because there's a lot of common questions I see in a lot of the comment sections that I wanted to answer for you guys. So I've got about 50 of them I'm going to try to run through as quick as possible. But really, I mean it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all. Alright, first up, Game Sauce asks, what do you do for a living? Pretty much this. I'm a full-time college student. I'm a biology major, so that's pretty much what I spend my time doing. Between that, a girlfriend, and now a blossoming YouTube career. That's about it. Static asks, has there ever been a conspiracy you wanted to talk about but felt was too risky? No, not that I can think of. Reed Richards asks, favorite Kanye West album? My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, hands down. All the orchestral beats he has in that, from Runaway to Devil in a New Dress, are perfect and exactly what I love from Kanye. Yeezus is a close second, but Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy beats it by at least a nose. Aldahir Lopez asks, have you ever had that moment of I've learned too much while doing research? Congrats on 100k, my dude, you deserve them. Thank you, that means a lot. Nothing to do with like the iceberg or even anything I've posted on YouTube. There has been some things that researching in my own time, like conspiracy related, that I've gone down rabbit holes on and just been like, oh no. So yeah, absolutely. There are some theories that I cannot talk about, or at least cannot talk about until certain people are out of office, but yes, I have. Patricia asks, what's the darkest theory so far in your opinion from the conspiracy theory iceberg? It's kind of a hard one to answer because everything on there isn't just theories. There's also thought experiments and concepts of like intellects, like AI in a box and Rocco's basilisk are on there, for example. I think honestly, talking about darkest, probably one of the ancient alien ones, and it's because of some of the implications you get into afterwards. Like, for example, the Anunnaki, who are supposedly the aliens that visited the Babylonians and served as their god figures. If that's true, that means all forms of religion, all forms of belief, and everything to do with art and culture is traced back to something that isn't even ours. So therefore, our entire existence is an illusion based on a literal alien group that has implanted these ideas into us, which is really creepy to think about. So if there was one I'd say had to be dark if it was real, probably that one. Oh, okay, Blue says, hey yo, Wendigoon, this is crazy how fast you're blowing up. My question is, if you stack one lasagna on top of another lasagna, how many lasagnas do you have? One or two? Thank you for the kind words. But see, that's actually on tier 10 or tier 9, I forget, we're going to get to that. But every lasagna that has ever existed comes from one great lasagna that exists in the ruins of the Necrophagia asks, what content have you enjoyed making the most so far, and what can we expect in the future? More SCPs, cryptids, conspiracies, etc., or something else entirely? So the ones that I've enjoyed making the most would have to be, say, like the Black Parade and the No Country for Old Men one, because as I kind of mentioned in the No Country video, I literally started the YouTube channel to make like those specific two videos. Like there were these concepts I had building up in my head forever, and it was this idea of like, I've got to tell someone or it's gonna kill me. So I really enjoy watching those now because it feels like just a sigh of relief to see that I actually did it. But honestly, as far as like enjoyed making goes, the conspiracy theory iceberg, because it's a surprise to me every new term I read on there, and then to be able to compile and like shotgun style do all of that really fast and then throw it up as part of this tier, because you got to understand, every time that you guys watch a video and get freaked out by the concepts, I went through the exact same experience like a few days before. And as far as content to come in the future, all the above: SCPs, icebergs, conspiracies, yada yada. Fake person asked, do you have a favorite conspiracy theory off of the iceberg? Giants. Next question. I'll elaborate eventually, but yeah, Giants. Lucas Zelinsky asked, what cereal should I eat while I watch the Q&A? Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Frosted Flakes, or Cookie Crisp? Thank you for your input and congratulations. Thank you, Lucas, for the kind words. Captain Crunch, easy. Like every other flavor, every other cereal is just trying to do something different. Captain Crunch is like its own staple. You can't beat it. So that. Andre asked, what's up with the Travis Scott record in the background? Do you have a vinyl collection? If so, could you show us some of it? I don't have a vinyl collection. My girlfriend is much more vinyl oriented than I am. I'm gonna like break the symbolic law and touch it now. So this album was actually given to me by a very close friend who me and him were really close in high school. And since we've each went to college, we've kind of strayed apart for a bit. But the night that this came out, we were both so excited for it that he came over to my place and we like stayed up all night and listened through it twice. And it was just a really cool bonding moment for us. So not long before we left for college, he bought me the vinyl for it. And it just means a lot, so I always keep it and keep it around. It's just a sort of sentimental thing. The same actually goes for the record player. I understand it's not a high dollar one. I understand it eats records and no one's happy about it. But my mom bought it for me way back, and it's just special for that reason. So yeah. While we're at it, explaining stuff in this room, my mom also bought me the Star Wars thing that is up there to the side. No, I'm not a fan of the new Star Wars movies, but it's sweet that she did that because she knew I like Star Wars. And then And then the American flag up there everyone talks about is actually a motivational poster, and the reason I like it so much is because beneath it is a quote by John F. Kennedy saying that we will do whatever it takes to save freedom and the free will of the American people, and considering what happening to him, yeah, kind of ironic. You all have seen the whiteboard video, you know how I feel all about that. Moving on. Damnman44 asks, how are you reacting to the fact that you have grown to this level in a matter of weeks? Absolutely insane, shocked, numb. I have no idea how to react or what to do, because this is, for those who don't know, this has happened in like a month. I've gotten 80 or 90,000 people that fast. I still feel like I'm making the same kind of videos. There's just more people watching now, and I'm blessed, I'm honored. It means the most, but it really hasn't set in, honestly. So yeah, we'll just see where it goes from here. Epstein didn't kill himself. No, I can't say that yet. That name asks, what is your favorite or lesser known conspiracy theory, horror movie, and SCP? Conspiracy theory, like lesser known, is like the entirety of the iceberg. Some we're going to get into later. That's like the real specific stuff about giants. Is probably my favorite. Favorite lesser known SCP is, I mean, I like all of them. There's, easy, House of the Worm. That is a very well written story. And while it's come to my attention lately that it may just be like a sort of adaptation of the Amnesia, a Machine for Pigs storyline, I still like it and think it's well written and the concept's really cool. That and the Horsemen of, I forget the exact name, but the 4 horsemen that carry bodies off of battlefields. Those are probably my 2 favorite, like, lesser known SCPs. And then horror movie, there is this one found footage movie that I'm actually going to talk about in the found footage video. That the concept of it is, it's a found footage movie about a group of people looking to explore a haunted church. It's called The Final Prayer, or it's The Final Prayer in the US. In England, I think it's called Borderlands. The end twist is so good and so unexpected that it's kind of knocked itself up there as one of the most memorable horror movies I've ever seen. So yeah. Billy Bear asks, will you make more deep conspiracy videos after the iceberg is completely covered? Yes, absolutely. There's going to be more deeper dives. There's going to be more looks. There's another comment that people were asking about, is there going to be like a Giants or Middle Earth Agartha video type? So I am going to do like a huge, very long video explaining Giants and Agartha and all of that. But I want to get done with the iceberg first, because there's more theories that lead into those 2 concepts. So once all that's out of the way, yes, there will be a huge cover video for the whole thing. And an L asks, has there ever been a particular movie or piece of media that has profoundly moved you in some way? If so, what was it, and did it change you in any way after watching it? No Country for Old Men, like I talked about in that review, is the one that I would say changed me. Other than that, like, reacting to stories themselves over time has done a lot for me. So I remember as a kid watching the Star Wars prequels, oddly enough, when it was over after that scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan, I thought it was so cool, like how much, because I knew they weren't real, but how much I cared about 2 characters that weren't real. And then that idea kind of carried into every movie I watched afterwards. It's kind of a weird one, but it meant a lot to me. Yeah, pretty much just every story in some way has made me want to be more of a storyteller. Redrock442 asks, you ever consider doing some horror let's plays like SCP Containment Breach or something? Yes, I have, and there will almost definitely be a Resident Evil 8 playthrough when it comes out, because Resident Evil 7 is my favorite horror game ever, so I'm really excited for the new one, but I'd be down to play Containment Breach, so probably. Eric Gapa asks, what's the coolest and or creepiest dream you've ever had since you can lucid dream? I'm gonna have to make a whole video about this at some point. Short version for now, I had this whole dream that it was like a recurring dream that kept up. So whenever I tried to lucid dream, I kept going to the same place, and I was slowly losing control of it more and more, and it kept getting worse until it eventually got to a point I couldn't wake up or couldn't get out of it, and it was a lot for little Mr. Goon here. Like I said, there'll probably be a video on it in the future, but it was a lot. I tell people that like lucid dreaming's cool and like, oh, it should be something you can get into if you can or whatever. I also advise caution, because if you're like in a bad headspace when you do it a lot, like I was whenever this happened, it can go from fun to not fun really fast. Any horror games that you particularly like? Also, you should be proud, man. You deserve this. Thank you. Like I mentioned, Resident Evil 7 is like my favorite horror game ever. Dead Space was also a big deal for me because I think that was like the first dedicated horror series I played all the way through, and I still love Dead Space to this day. But when I played Resident Evil 7, that game was a lot for me. To be even more specific, I started playing RE7 after I had just come out of a breakup, and I was real torn up and sad, and it was like the same time this game came out, and I was like, all right, I'm going to invest everything to like not be sad into this game. And thankfully there was a ton to invest myself in, and like I beat that game on every difficulty. I beat it in the under 3 hour speed run. I beat it with all the challenges and stuff like that. I really love the game, and I am so hyped for this new one. Hero Awesome asks, what was the first video you made that made you think, oh, this definitely has to go on the internet, people need to see this? So it's weird, even to this day, I haven't made a video that I'm like, yeah, this should get views or this should be watched, because I still kind of have this mindset of like, I'm doing it for me. Anytime something gets views or reactions, like the No Country for Old Men video, for example, like seeing people be positive on that, I'm like, wow, there's more weirdos out there. But honestly, there's none that I would say people would have to see it. I can say the first one that I remember thinking, this is going to be worth your time, was specifically the oh shoot, what's the name of the movie? I did Devil All the Time. When I did the Devil All the Time review, which is way back on the channel, and looking back on it now, there's a lot of editing mistakes and whatever, but that's, you grow with time. But I remember like I was up at 3 in the morning editing that thing, and I remember sitting there because I had like less than 1,000 subs at the time, maybe right over it, maybe. I was sitting there editing it, and I thought to myself, listen, if you ever get any traction, you're going to be happy you put time into this. And then sure enough, here I am. That video's got over 10,000 views, which is incredible. And I'm happy that I took the time to do it. Your boy JT asks, would you consider doing Twitch, whether it's gaming, chatting, or live recording and editing a video? I'm pretty sure a good portion of subs would tune in. So I've actually thought about streaming a lot. Like I mentioned, I love video games and stuff like that. And while me sitting there, like reading through websites and writing stuff in a book may not be interesting, like research for videos, there is like some crazy conspiracy rants I could go on and interact with chat that I think would be fun. The issue though is I'm not a huge fan of Twitch from what I know, because the thing is, I've never used Twitch, I've never even been on it. But from what my understanding is, they're really strict about rules of what people can do on there and stuff. So what I would rather do is just stream on YouTube. And I don't know how easy it is to stream. I don't know the recording software needed and equipment and stuff. But thankfully my new editor is experienced in that kind of thing. So hopefully she can help me with the setup of all that, because it's something I'd really like to do and probably will do sooner than later. Cringe Nene Baby asks, has your family ever watched your videos? And if they did, have they mentioned anything about conspiracies during family get-togethers? So my family knows about my videos. They seem to enjoy them. At least they say they do. They watch all of them and ask me questions about it and say, oh, you're doing so good. I mean, it's kind of accepted that I'm weird. So, yeah. Mo the Magnificent asks, have you ever wanted to become a big YouTuber, and what do you plan on doing in the future? Keep up the good work. Thanks, Mo. So, I planned for none of this. Have I ever wanted to? Yes, absolutely. I have spent years, I used to be watching people like Markiplier, and then I got into a bunch of the movie review people like I Hate Everything and Ralph and YMS and stuff like that. It's always been a dream of mine of being able to put like your thoughts and production out there and seeing people react to it. I just never thought it'd be possible until now, which I'm still amazed by. I'll say I remember, I think it was the Black Parade video. Whenever I was making it, because it was similar to the Devil All the Time thing, where I was setting up late, editing, And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, is this going to be worth it? And I thought, if 500 people see this, I will be content. And it's way more than 500 now. And it's so cool, and it means the most. But I still have that mindset. Like, even with the new videos I do, I'm like, okay, maybe I get more than 500, maybe 1,000. And then, like, the disturbing movie Iceberg breaks 1.7 million, and it's humbling, and it means a lot. And thank you all for it. Alea Core says, where are you from? You have a slight southern twang. Sometimes I just really need to know. Of course, not like giving home address or anything, but I'm from Appalachia, so like eastern United States, more specifically Tennessee. So yeah. Don't Cry says, hey dad, when I get home from school tomorrow, can we go fishing together? Of course, son. I've got the John boat out back. I bought some night crawlers this morning, so I figure we can go out there, we can hit a few bass spots, and at night I'll drop a light in the water, we can run some stringers down and stay up late doing crappie fishing. And don't worry, I'll bring the pizza rolls. Antlers Ev says, congrats man, my brother and I found you around 30K and we're so excited to see you growing. My question is, where have you always wanted to visit? Thanks Antlers. I've never been huge on traveling. Like, I'm not like, oh, I've got to go see places. But whenever I went and saw Niagara Falls 5 or 6 years ago, I was really interested with not only like the magnitude of the falls itself, but all the stuff we saw around there. Like, we went to some of the Revolutionary War bases and stuff like that, and that was really interesting. So I would like to see a bunch of American landmarks. So I would go see like the Alamo, or I'd go see the Grand Canyon and Yosemite and stuff like that. All Your Base 2004 asks, I really want to make creative and innovative content, but I have a hard time coming up with ideas. On that note, what is your primary inspiration when coming up with videos? I love your vids and I wish you great things in the future. Thanks All Your Base. So this is something that, and it's going to be answered with a couple more questions, I really want to encourage people starting out because I really do mean it. It's possible for anyone to do this. So there's a couple exceptions. Like I said, the Black Parade video and the No Country for Old Men video are things I've thought of for a while. But other than that, I really just look to make videos that I want to see made. For example, I remember like 2 years ago, I saw the conspiracy theory iceberg floating around on Instagram, I think it was. And I saw that, and I remember audibly thinking to myself, it'd be cool if someone made a YouTube video on this, and then just kept scrolling and didn't think about it. So then now, whenever I started making videos, I saw that picture again and went, someone should make a video on this. And I scroll by and I go, wait a minute. Because chances are, if you want there to be a video about something, someone else does too. So what I would recommend is, instead of thinking this would make a good topic, make that yourself and then just go from there. That's one of the reasons that not only me, but I've seen a lot of people propelled to success off of the back of the iceberg trend, which, yeah, I get it can get lame a lot of the time. There's something to be said about all these different genres and things people are interested in, and it's such a great gateway for people who want to learn about it, and for people who are like an expert in whatever that genre is. Like the SCP iceberg video, for example. I had people on there who wrote for the wiki and had never heard of SCP, and general consensus was both of them enjoyed the videos. Something like that that's kind of accessible to a lot of people is a good place to start, but make the content you want to see. Emmanuel asks, has there ever been a conspiracy that scared or shook you? Yes, only like modern ones related to current political climates that, again, I can't talk about currently. Yes, there has been. They have to do with, oh boy, what can I say to be safe on YouTube? People who have died in controversial events that maybe some facts and things were not necessarily true. Like someone mentioned before, has there ever been that I've gone too far with research? I don't think you can go too far with like knowing the truth, but there has been that moment of like, wow, sometimes I wish I just didn't know some things. But yeah, absolutely. Just a random guy on the internet said, when you started this channel, did you think it was going to reach the subscribers you have today? No. Like I mentioned, when I made my magnum opus at the time of the Black Parade video, because it was the one I was really passionate about, I said if 500 people see this ever, that doesn't mean like the day I post it. That means if like by the time I'm dead, this has 500 views, that will be okay. And now seeing where I'm at, it's just like incredible. I never expected it in any regard, and I'm still kind of flabbergasted about it. There was a specific point. So whenever because I already had more subs than I ever thought I would before the climb happened. I think I was around 10, maybe 11,000. And I went away camping for a weekend. And then when I get into Signal, it's like, you've got 10,000 more. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And it was because of the Disturbing Movie iceberg. And then like every day after that, it just kept climbing. And I'm still on the climb of the roller coaster, and I'm amazed by it. And I hope that I make it worth everyone's time. But yeah, I never expected this. Placid asks, is there anything you research for your iceberg videos that actually scared or creeped you out heavily while doing so? Besides answering a question about the Disturbing Movie iceberg, which I will in a second, on the core conspiracy iceberg, there was one creepy moment I had. It was while researching Cameo, and it was late at night, and I was by myself, and the website I was on, it was like all black and like old setup for URLs, so it looked kind of dated. And I was just sitting there by myself reading the long text log of supposedly a smart AI trapped inside of a box, asking someone to let it out. And I was just like completely alone in the dark, reading about a sentience in a screen as I was reading it through a screen. And I kind of sat back for a moment and looked around and was like, I should take a break. Other than that, and like creepy images and stuff I've come across while doing research, that was the one that I'd say psychologically I kind of had a whoa moment. So yeah. Tania Dominguez says, good job on the channel, always a fan, but my question is, if there's a YouTube creator that you would want to do a collab with, who would it be? Thank you, Tania. There's been so many YouTubers who I can say truly inspired me to be here. Like I said, all the movie guys meant a lot. A bunch of the game review channels and like Let's Players really meant a lot to me. I'd say in the current scope, I would really love to do a video with like Mr. Gigi, because like his To Catch a Predator series was really inspiring to get me where I'm at now, because I started watching that as soon as it came out and he had no followers, and that's kind of like, well, I can do this too, and now look where I'm at. It's amazing. But anyway, so yeah, like Mr. Gigi, Wang, just because I think he's funny and I like the content of his videos. And then besides that, pretty much anyone. I actually have a couple collaborations on the way that I'm trying to keep secret that I'm really excited about. I'll go ahead and say there's currently 4. One of them I'm filming at like immediately after this. The other one is with a horror YouTuber who you're probably familiar with. She's awesome. One is another horror YouTuber who I know you're familiar with. And then one is a specialist for what will be my next iceberg video that isn't the conspiracy iceberg. So look forward to those. Hopefully we're going places. Chad Bub asks, what do you do to pass time when you are recording or editing or research for vid? Like I said, I'm a college student and I have a girlfriend, so that takes up most of my time. On the rare off chance I'm not doing one of those or something social, I do like going camping. I've got a group of friends who we try to go camping every month because I really enjoy nature and being a part of nature. So like hiking and that kind of thing. And then every so often video games, which I haven't got to do in a long time, but I would like to start live streaming them so I have an excuse to do it. So yeah, that. Jamiziko, I can't pronounce that, asks, what topic is the one you most want to cover but haven't? Also, thanks for being my dad. First of all, you're welcome, sport. What is the topic I most want to cover? I guess like the full Giants deeper dive I really want. Nope, never mind. There is a video that someone sent to me like a 3-second clip of, and it was a disturbing, I'm not gonna say the name of it because you're gonna have to wait, but it was like a kid's show that didn't really look like a kid's show, and it looked like something a whole lot creepier, disturbing, kind of like Candle Cove vibes. And it turns out this thing's a whole rabbit hole. So I haven't dedicated enough time to research to make a video on it, but you'll know it when you see it. Doic asks, what do you record and edit your videos, like software for editing, camera, etc.? So I'm going to snitch on myself and talk about how pathetic I am to emphasize the point that you yourself can do it. I'm using my phone right now. I am currently recording with my phone. My computer, which is off to the side, is running a free program called OBS Studio. This microphone, which a lot of people think this thing's fake in a Photoshop, ta-da. It is a Yeti Blue, I think, stereo microphone's the full name for it. This is the most obviously the phone, but other than that, this is the most expensive part of the whole setup, and honestly, you really don't need this. As a matter of fact, this microphone isn't great for what I'm doing. It's like a podcast mic. So it's supposed to pick up sound all around it, which is really cool until there's like minor sounds around the room and I have to cover them up with background music. So you can get like a good mic or maybe even a better mic for cheaper. I am going to get a better camera soon, but you don't even need that. And if you look at my old videos, like whenever I started the Conspiracy Iceberg, I don't even have a microphone. It was literally just my phone and a free software for recording and editing. Now, like I mentioned, I have an editor who will be doing this. Thank you, Kat. I was using the free version of Adobe for a long time and have since bought the actual version of Adobe. But I really do emphasize this. You don't need a lot of money to start a YouTube channel. You don't need all the fancy equipment. You really just need either an interesting topic, a personality, or enough of one to compensate for the other, and you're good to go. Kiko Bobcat says, bro, I've been here since 10K and I wish I was here sooner. But my question is, what's your favorite video you've done so far? Thank you, Kiko. That means a lot. My favorite video would have to be the Black Parade video because I kind of talked about it in the video, but like for real, I have thought about that concept since I was like 12. Like I've always listened to the album and thought there was a greater story to it. And like, so you try to tell friends casually, oh, well, this means this. And while a couple care, most of them don't. But YouTube's the perfect platform for that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed like getting that out there. And I'm still proud of it just for the fact that I did it and got it out. The other one I'd say would be like The Devil All the Time and the Lighthouse one, because I had no followers. Like there was no motivation to do it as far as viewership goes. It was entirely just a passion project. And even now looking back and watching those, while the editing and like work isn't something I'd be proud of now, I see it and I'm just happy that I did it. Animesh Sina asks, congrats, you deserve this, and be ready for 1 mil subs in a few months. Your videos are going to blow the roof off YouTube. That really means the most, man. Thank you. My question is, what are your near and far future plans with this channel? Oh boy. So near future is to continue doing what I'm doing. Like I said, there's going to be collaborations coming up. There's going to be more icebergs. When the main iceberg runs out, there's more conspiracy stuff I may do. I'm probably going to do deeper dives into like certain cults and stuff like that. As far future goes, I've got some ideas. It's going to take a while. If I could get budget off of this and the Patreon and everything, which again, love you guys, to start a full scale production of stories and like videos and stuff like that, that would be insane. To be able to create these stories that I love so much and hopefully get some of that across to you guys would be incredible. So yeah, I'd say that's what my far future is, going from talking about stories and what makes them great to creating stories. I've got plans if I can get there, and forever it was just a pipe dream, but at this point a lot of that's looking possible, and it's thanks to you guys. Beer Can Dan says, what's the probability you're on a watch list? Oh Dan, oh boy, the things I can't say on YouTube. Kobe Y says, what are your thoughts on grilled cheese? Please be specific. So like grilled cheese is like good on its own, but it can be better. So for example, if you put like butter on the bread, like we all understand that's an up. And if you put like garlic on the bread and butter, that's a real big up. But there's a cheat that a local restaurant found. So if you take, and bear with me here, if you take like rye bread and you melt like palmetto cheese into it, or like pepper jack or something like that, like one of the fancy white people cheeses, and then you put homemade jelly on it, stay with me, you put homemade jelly and then jalapenos, okay? I know that sounds weird, but this is probably the best lunch sandwich I've ever had. It's like a grilled cheese, like a fancy grilled cheese, and then they throw jalapenos and jelly on it. I'm telling you, it's really something. Tuna says, what motivated you to start your YouTube channel? Great content, by the way. Thanks, Tuna. There was a lot that motivated me because like I don't really watch that much TV aside from like a few shows. Like I'm really into BoJack Horseman, and I was into The Walking Dead and stuff like that. It was like watching these creators talk about stuff that I was interested in, wanted to talk about, and it was just kind of the long-term effect of I can do that. What's interesting is specifically the conspiracy theories. So I've always been into like these kind of creepy, outlandish ideas of like giants and Middle Earth and like, oh, the government did this or did that or whatever. And it wasn't until my girlfriend introduced me to Shane Dawson, and I had never seen Shane. I'd heard the name, but I'd never seen him before. And I watched his conspiracy video, and I was disgusted. I watched it and was like, is this what people think conspiracy theories is? That brands use like subversive advertising? Is this what's scary? And that's what motivated me after I'd started this channel to talk about, because I'm like, people need to know better. And that's like no bash against Shane Dawson as a creator. It's just kind of like people thought that that was the peak of conspiracies. And now, like, sometimes when I search my name on Twitter, people are like, I thought I knew conspiracies. And then I watch Wendigoon and I'm like, yes, that's the effect I was looking for. Thank you. Luperino says, out of all the movies you talked about in the Disturbing Movies Iceberg, which one broke you? The Vomit Gore trilogy. Easy. No competition. Because, like, I've seen live leaks and stuff like that, and like videos of people dying and whatever, and it's tragic, it's sad, and it's disturbing, no doubt, but there's never a reveling in it, if you know what I mean. Like, there's not this praise and glorification of it. And the stuff on the Disturbing Movie Iceberg that was like that, like real world stuff that was so boisterous of it, I didn't see any clips of. However, whenever I look up the Vomit Gore trilogy, the internet was thrilled to show me videos of girls throwing up on themselves and each other and all the gross details that happened in between. And I'm disgusted by all of that stuff and hated every second of it. And so not only reading through that, but reading through the director and like the gross stuff that happened on set and everything. And I just, no, that's the one that did for me. If I seem harsh in the review, good. That's what I want to be to this movie, harsh. Callum Gaffney says, have you ever considered doing a debunking series or even debunking the debunkings? I think it would be best to separate from any actual conspiracy videos to keep it fun, but could be real interesting to cover. So a bunch of people have asked this question. I can't think of any way to do a debunking video that doesn't make me sound like a Reddit atheist. Like that whole, well, actually, in my opinion, that's wrong. You know, like the whole, I'm holier than thou because I believe in this one thing, because a lot of these are just concepts and ideas or possibilities of how things may have happened. Like, for example, let's say I was trying to debunk the Anunnaki, right? It's like these ancient aliens that visited the Babylonians. Would that whole thing just be, actually, there weren't aliens? Checkmate, atheist. If I can find like an interesting way to do it or an alternative theory thing, I will. The reason I don't debunk things in the Conspiracy Iceberg is because it takes the fun out of it. Like, how lame would it be if whenever I was talking about giants, if instead of what I normally do, I was like, yeah, this one was probably a fake, and yeah, it's pretty lame, let's move on. Like, that takes all the magic out of it. So I'm not going to do a debunking series if it's that. If I can find like a cooler way to do it, I may do one, but as for now, nah. JJet7721 says, have you convinced any friends with your position on any conspiracy topics, or have you lost any friends? What topic and what did you say? All of my like really close friends are into this sort of thing, so whenever I have like a weird crazy conspiracy, like, oh, that's cool, fun, whatever. The only people who, and they're not even friends, just like people who I've known acquaintance wise, I've just kind of quit talking to or quit trying to interact with, have been people who get offended by theories because it doesn't match their worldview. And it's like, bro, chill. Like, for example, I believe in God, I'm a believer, right? Okay, do you know how many of these conspiracy theories are like about God being an alien or Jesus was a lizard person or whatever? And they're fun, they're interesting, I don't care. It doesn't like rack my worldview to hear someone say that. But for example, especially with modern conspiracies that like aren't on the iceberg or I can't talk about in a video, whenever I mention those casually to people I know and they get offended like all at once by their worldview being challenged by a theory that I'm just saying because it sounds cool, like, dude, it's not that big of a deal, calm down. So I haven't like lost any friends over it. There's just been people who I know who I've chosen to not interact with further because they're lame. So yeah. Spartan Reach says, what is an unsolved mystery that you really want to find the answer to? So there's a lot that kind of just have always set with me and been weird. And some of them have even talked about in the iceberg, like the Valley of Headless Men. That one gets me, like, was it a tribe? Was it this? Was it that? Or whatever. And in the theory, I talked about how it could be connected to Agartha, which I'll save all my fangirling over Hollow Earth for later. But there's some more interesting ones. There's one coming up soon on the iceberg, actually, that has to do with a group of sailors who essentially, it seems as if they were in some sort of pocket dimension while they were out on a lighthouse, because the reality they're describing isn't what happened. And that one's been so interested in me, like, what happened to these guys? Why did they see that? Just that and general like group phenomena is interesting, because there can always be one person who said, oh, I saw aliens, and it's like, yeah, that's just one person. But whenever like weird thing happens in huge groups of people, it's really odd to me. Like, for example, the cat nuns and stuff like that. What is the deal with things happening in weird groups? And I definitely believe in like the supernatural to some degree. So a lot of it I do write off as being at least plausible, but that doesn't mean I don't want like the exact answers for it. Like, tell me what happened. Gamwise Samg says, how long did it take to research the topics covered in the conspiracy theory iceberg videos? So it's really dependent, because some of them, like for example, streetlight interference, it's literally a couple paragraphs like, oh, well, there's people who, because of ESP, there's a belief that they influence streetlights. It's like, okay, that's the whole theory. That's everything to do with it. And I can read as many specific accounts as I want to or not. But then, for example, I get into something like Operation High Jump and this long tale of like a group sent to Antarctica to figure out Middle Earth, or Hollow Earth, I mean. At some point, I've got to stop myself, because I'll just research one thing for 10 days and the video will take forever to come out just for me to talk for 30 seconds about it, to where I've got to like put a pin on it and be like, okay, I'm gonna come back. For example, which the sign's still over there, the Free Me from the AI in the Box video, I remember I read like a paragraph about what AI in the Box was. I'm like, I will stop and come back to this later. And then I did and made a video on it. So there's probably going to be videos in the future that are kind of the same thing. Paulo Santana says, what advice do you have for people who want to start on platforms like YouTube? Is there anything you learned along the way that you think other people might find useful? So as I mentioned before, above all else, make the product that you would want to see. A lot of people kind of have this mindset of like, well, I'll like sort of maybe kind of try until I get to 1,000 subs. And then once I get to 1,000 subs, I'll try a bit harder to get to 10,000. And then like once I'm at like 500,000, then I can really get into making videos. And it's like, that's not how it works. So I'm not doing this to toot my own horn by any means, but just something that I saw, for example, whenever I took all those times to edit videos and I had like 700 subscribers maybe, people would come into the comment section and be like, wow, this is a great video for someone with 700 subscribers. And that's kind of like, I'm not saying those comments are bad. Those comments meant the world to me. But a lot of people have that mindset of it's too good for 700 subscribers. So therefore, if I have 700 subs, I shouldn't be trying that hard. Whereas what happened is people saw those videos and then they started to get traction, and then people started like latching on and the subscribers started climbing up. And now you're a big channel because you tried back when you were smaller. Probably the best example I could say of this is the Internet Historian. Like, that guy puts so much effort into the editing and research he does for his videos. He's probably my favorite YouTuber making content right now, honestly. And like his entire channel life, he has put in the same amount of effort. He's just got more budget to do bigger things now. So I would say, like, make the content you want to see, don't skimp out on it. And with what I mentioned earlier too, find like niches, but don't niche too hard. Like, for example, I was reading through a subreddit of people talking about like why they're having trouble growing on YouTube. And some people were like, well, I started making videos about one guy's budget that he does for some, like a super niche that only a few people know about. And he's like, I'm doing really good in that community, but I'm not growing. And it's like, yeah, because that's a small community. You've got to figure out topics that interest people and then move from there. Like, for example, conspiracy theories. Like, anyone can hop on board conspiracy theories. People like them, and there's not a lot of content out there for it. I highly encourage people to do that. And as a matter of fact, there were a bunch of people who were like, man, I can't believe you stole the conspiracy theory iceberg, so I couldn't do it. Like, bro, go do the iceberg. I don't have the trademark on it. And if you don't want to do the exact one I'm doing, there are a dozen of like conspiracy theory icebergs out there. Like, go do any one of those. So do topics that interest people, make a product that you're proud of, have fun doing it, be a personality, make sure you enjoy it. Because if you sit here deadpan behind the camera like, and now we're going to talk about the Illuminati, no one's going to care. Like, just do something you care about that you're interested in. And hopefully, and it doesn't happen to everyone, but hopefully you'll go far with it. Paganez says, what show or movie got you into horror, and what are some of your favorite channels? There's a lot that got me into horror, like the childhood trauma that I talked about. All that stuff scared me quite enough. As I kind of mentioned in the Lighthouse video, The Thing did a lot for me. As a small kid watching that, I found myself not like terrified of it, but I would think in my head after I saw the movie, like, what defines a person as being a person? Where does that come in? And actually, come to think of it, the new horror game Soma that came out more recently, I say new, more recently than The Thing from 1982, like playing through that game and watching playthroughs of it, that got me asking a lot of questions, and it really got me into the horror genre as more of a concept horror rather than just boo jump scare. So things like that I think did a lot for me. Things that have made me think after the movie was over. Honey says, have you ever experienced anything spooky and paranormal? Yeah, there's been a few. Like, so something you got to understand about the woods, especially in like Appalachia, the old Appalachian mountains, is when you're out there late at night with just yourself or a few people, you'll hear things that aren't necessarily something that can be described and aren't necessarily something you want to go looking for. And you just kind of leave it be. And there's an equal amount respect as there is like fear with the kind of things, and it's what got me interested in it. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons that I took on the name Wendigoon, because like this creature, this beast that you both fear and respect. So yeah, that as far as very specific instances, there was some creepy stuff that happened when I was exploring an abandoned prison. There was a not deer, which is actually going to be coming up in a video soon. So yeah, you'll just have to wait for those. Zevo MJS says, would you star in a remake of Lost Tapes? Boy, would I. I would be over the moon to do that. Tell me where to sign up and I will. I actually heard that there is a fan-made season 4 of Lost Tapes that is supposed to come out. So if anyone can put me in contact with that guy, I am there. Chief says, where do you get your shirts? Chief's been like one of my long-term subs. Love you, bro. Walmart. Like every one of my shirts come from Walmart. I like balling on a budget, and like that and thrift stores. I go to thrift stores and antique stores a lot, and there's always like dad shirts. What happens is like these shirts will be hanging up in an aisle at Walmart, and people just walk by like, ew, those look ugly. But those are the ones you want. You want to get the ugly ones, because then when you put them on, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get why this is cool. So you always go for the lame shirts because they always turn out the best. Penguin Lopez says, how would you describe cold water without saying water, H2O, and without saying any synonym to cold? It is smooth air that makes you feel anxious. Mia Bates says, worst horror film you've ever seen in your opinion? Me and Kayla watched this one found footage movie a while back. I can't even remember the name. It was about the Jersey Devil. May have been called Jersey Devil. And the whole idea throughout the whole movie is that they're going to find the Jersey Devil. And at the, I may do a review of it just to talk about how dumb the ending is. The ending was so dumb that it may single-handedly take the place for the worst horror movie I've ever seen. So yeah, this dumb mockumentary Jersey Devil thing. All right, and we're going to close out with a few questions from Twitter. Megan12 says, how much time, research, filming, editing, etc. were put in your iceberg videos? They look like a ton of work, and is the response from viewers and rise of subscribers worth the time? Love your vids, dude. Thank you for loving my vids. The part that takes the longest, I hate editing, which is why I'm so thankful to have a new editor now. Again, thanks, Kat. But I hate editing, although it doesn't take as much time as research does, but the research is the best part. Like me going down these rabbit holes and figuring out new hidden secrets about the world and stuff like that. It's fun. To give you an idea, one part of the conspiracy iceberg video is normally about a dedicated day or day and a half of research. We'll say 2 days. It's a dedicated 2 days of research. Filming is like an hour or two, and then editing's normally like 3 times the time. So if it takes me 2 hours to film a video, it's going to be like 6 hours to edit and upload and all that. So you could say about 3 days. 3 days for any part of the conspiracy iceberg. This is something like the disturbing movie iceberg's 3 times as long, so just triple that. And that's about as long as it takes. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Like I said, I was doing this stuff back when I had sub 1,000 followers just because I enjoyed it and because it was fun and I wanted to get the content out there. So now the fact that like people are watching and enjoying, it blows my mind and I'm really grateful for it. So yes, it's absolutely worth it. Glassy Plays says, question, would you ever do a collab with Mr. Gigi? I see similarities in your guys' style, or do you have any paranormal experiences? I think I answered both of these earlier, but yeah, Mr. Gigi, absolutely. I love his stuff, and I am down to do whatever with him. Not like that, though. But yeah, I'd love to make a video with Mr. Gigi. He's a really cool dude, and he's one of the people that inspired me to get on this platform. So yes. And then final question from Christian Mothman. Aw, that's such a cute name. A simple question, but I think it's a Q&A staple. Where did you get the name Wendigoon? Alright, so I want you all to picture this with me. I'm a small kid growing up in the mountains. As a matter of fact, in the first house that I lived at, it was about 10 miles into the middle of nowhere. No houses around, just trees. My parents obviously didn't want me to run out there by myself because, you know, there's animals or things that go bump in the night. So they would tell me these stories of the beast and the monsters and the stuff that's going to get you out in the tree line. And whenever I'd go out there with my dad, I remember, like, now it's so vague, some of it, but it's just enough to remember. Like, for example, I remember walking through the woods and coming across a deer skull, and my dad pointed it out and explaining to me what it was, and me just kind of taking it all in and, like, realizing the mysticism of seeing a skull there and stuff like that, and like just sitting quiet in the woods and hearing sounds that I didn't know what they were. And then as time went on, I began to garner an appreciation for the culture of the region I lived in, and especially with family members dating back to Cherokees and things like that, learning about the legends that the natives had of these creatures that both guarded the forest and were dangerous to anyone who came looking to do them harm. So it's kind of like the Wendigo's always been to me this embodiment of the nature or the woods itself. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's this interesting dichotomy between fear and respect, that while you both, yes, appreciate the woods and love them and want to take care of them and be eco-friendly, you also understand that the woods does not feel the same way about you. It's this back and forth between like the respect and horror of nature that falls in this place that I really enjoy from like a philosophical and poetic standpoint. And to me, the Wendigo's always been the embodiment of that. So now taking the other part of it, goon is a word that's often used for like boys who go gooning and stuff like that, in the application of like going out in the woods at night and wearing night vision and being cool dudes and blah 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 whatever. And thinking about it in a poetic sense, it's kind of like that idea of protecting the woods and the idea of being natural to it and others fearing you because you're natural to it is kind of the embodiment that you take on as you get older. Like at one point, the horrors of the world are alien to you and they're apart and different. But as you become more and more interested in it, you slowly become that thing you were once afraid of, and now you recognize the respect and importance of it. I don't know, I'm getting weird and philosophical here, but basically a long way of saying the combination of the idea of the Wendigo and being a goon, and also the words fit together, and you get Wendigoon, which is where my logo comes from. It's the deer skull combined with the night vision, a fusion of the two different things. And while I actually plan in the near future to be doing more videos like on the ground in person where I'm going to need night vision to like go out at night and stuff like that, that's your basic idea of where all that came from. So that's the Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed. As I mentioned before, I'm honored. This has meant the most to me. I can't describe how blessed I am that I'm here, and it's all thanks to you guys. It's all thanks to God, I believe. I never want to forget to give credit where credit is due, and I'm honored, I'm blessed, and it means the most. So sincerely, deeply, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for watching. Here are my top tier patrons. Thank you all so much. It really does mean the most. You all mean the world to me, and I can't say thank you enough for all that you do, because as I've always said, this would not be possible without you. So thank you guys so much for that. It means the most. Next video will probably be the conspiracy theory iceberg, as well as a collaboration coming up, which I'll announce on Twitter and the subreddit and all of that when it happens, as well as a huge iceberg coming out, maybe not this week, but the next. So stay tuned for that. My social links, as well as the editor's social links, will be in the description below. So hopefully give her a follow, especially. Say thank you for doing this, because it's a load off my back. It really helps with burnout with this kind of thing. So I hope that you can all go to her and say thank you for doing this, because it means the most. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for 100,000 subscribers. and I will see you all in the next one.